Welcome to Goddess Behavior, the podcast where ancient myths meets modern main character energy.
We're your hosts, Steph and Laura.
We're telling the real stories of gods, goddesses, muses, heroes, heroines, and legendary mortals, the drama, the chaos, the glow-ups, and the scandals your history class absolutely skipped.
From Olympus to Asgard, rivalries, romances, and full-blown divine meltdowns, we break down the myths behind the icons. What's true, what's twisted, and what's honestly just iconic.
No textbooks, just great stories, hot takes, and some unhinged ancient audacity.
So pour a drink, fix your crown, and step into your mythic era.
This is Goddess Behavior. All right, here we are. Episode
here.
1, we finally made it on on screen.
Yeah, on screen. All
So
right.
who are we?
Who are we? Excellent question. Okay, well, hi, I'm Laura. I am, I guess, your new history major friend. I'm a Navy wife and mom of 2. I love to read, not just my history books, but romantasy is a big chunk of my reading too.
Into sneak peek.
Surprise, surprise! I'm also a Swiftie. I love all music, though. I enjoy traveling and exploring new places. Truly, stories and music have my heart, and they're a big part of who I am and how I approach the world. And they're also how I escape from the world sometimes.
We all need a good escape.
Yeah, right. I'm really passionate about the preservation and understanding of history, which is why we're a big part of why we're doing this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay. I'm Steph. I'm a wife and mom of 2 kids and 1 dog. And I am a Danish American expat kid, and I grew up across 5 different countries. And art major who accidentally turned into an art history just obsession and
So
life,
fun.
which tied into my lifelong love of mythology and folklore. I love astrology. I'm a Gemini. Don't judge me, everyone. Okay.
I'm a Virgo. I love my Gemini friend.
Yeah. And I also love my romantasy and traveling whenever possible. And also am a big music person. I fully believe that music phases are a personality trait. I've been a Swiftie, a country music fan, and a former pop punk girly. So
Totally. Yeah.
I'm currently in Florida with Laura. And that was not the original life plan. And I'm fairly certain I'm destined to live in Scotland at some point.
Together.
Yeah. Probably
Obviously.
together. But yeah, I like old stories and big personalities, dramatic history, and finding the mythology hidden in everyday life. So I think that's how we both ended up here.
Truly. Yeah.
And how did we meet, Laura?
Truly, I noticed your Throne of Glass shirt and was like,
I think I need to be
I think
friends
we're
with
going to
her.
be friends, because I think I was wearing a Taylor Swift shirt.
I think we just kind of figured out that we might like each other at school, and
Our
our sons go to the same school.
Yeah.
We were like, well, she looks cool, and we're also just not very outgoing to begin
we were
with.
just like kind of doing the day-to-day pick up drop-offs, and
then we just started talking, and we really haven't stopped. So
yeah,
I think that's
here we are talking more for you guys.
Yeah, we figured we should have other people join in our conversation.
Yeah, maybe contribute.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just realized there's so many cool stories that we can relate to today, and we wanted to share with everyone else.
Right.
Yeah. So goddess behavior, where did we come up with that?
I just remember when we were thinking about names.
Yeah.
That was the first one that I felt like really excited about or like connected to.
For sure. I think we just kept coming back to, that's the one. That one just tickled our brains.
Which, we hope that you can already tell that we're not trying to be goddesses as in like,
no.
Look at us.
That's not our intention.
That's not our vibe, if you will. But
yeah, we're trying to show that like they mirror us as humans, and that is what makes them so interesting, because that is, I think, a thing that we've noticed across different mythologies is that they are just like us, if you will.
Yeah.
So
the celebrities not meant to fit in a box.
Right.
They are, not to be
put on a pedestal.
Yeah, totally.
Despite what people would think of as a goddess. So I think and they can be misunderstood. They can be a lot of things. So
and I'm sure
food for thought.
We'll dive more into that.
Yeah. So we basically decided to pick our own.
For
to
this first
start.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as a little bit of like a introduction to us. So, yeah,
Yeah. And just sort of mythology as a whole. These are two of our favorites that
right.
we're going to talk about and
Mhm. Yeah. We'll see what you guys
see where
think.
it takes us.
Yeah, I think it was hard for us to choose, like, how we start off all this to begin with, like,
Yeah.
where do we go? So, we just said, "Why not pick what we wanna start with ourselves?" And just our own choice, so
Yeah.
so who is your choice?
Okay. So I went back and forth, to be honest, because it is hard to pick a favorite.
It's
I think there's so many that
really,
it's hard to pick a
really
favorite.
hard.
I started with Persephone, who I think is someone
Oh,
we'll end up talking about
I
later.
think it's hard not to. If our audience becomes who we think it is, I think it will
Yeah,
be very hard
Persephone
to
will be
ignore her.
discussed, but decided to go a little primordial
Oh,
instead.
what
So,
does primordial mean for the people who don't know? Because that's a
yeah,
big word.
primordial means just sort of before,
The world begins,
yeah,
kind of? Yeah.
yeah, just sort of before
Before
our
time as we know it.
Olympians,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, like before. I mean, she came about at literally the dawn of time. So think creation time period.
yeah.
So when we talk about Greek mythology, most people are thinking
Mhm.
Olympians. Most people are thinking like Zeus and Hera and Athena and sort of their all of their drama. But before Olympus, there was this sort of primordial existence,
Right.
right? So is one of our first realities of the human experience to ever exist. And
Okay.
so when I talk about realities, I'm meaning day, night, sky, the underworld, like these sort of,
Like, big picture concepts
yeah.
that would be very, like, God created the heavens and the earth,
Right.
if
Yeah.
you
So
will.
essentially,
Yeah.
we're going into a little bit
Creation
of the
story.
creation story.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a big piece of this Greek creation story.
Right.
So to understand Nyx, you have to start with Hesiod's Theogony, which is sort of our original
If you just
text.
saw my face, it was, "What?"
Yeah. Well, it is
This is
our,
exactly why we're making this, because it sounds crazy, but
and
it's
I mean, it
it
kind of
is.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And what we get from that is she is sort of a hard one to understand. First, let's start with where she came from.
Sure.
So, she is said to be born of chaos,
Mm,
chaos as in dawn of time,
right.
like this sort of gap, a vast
Mm,
emptiness, cosmic,
void.
if
Yeah.
you will. So, around her time, we have Earth, Tartarus, so like the deep, deep abyss where she resides, Eros, like think of Eros like gravity
Okay.
almost, like sort
Yeah.
of an attraction force
Okay. Yeah.
that is said to hold all of it together, essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
And Nyx, which what I think is very important to note here is that she really isn't, she's not anyone's daughter. She's not anyone's wife. She just
Is.
yeah,
Yeah.
not born, not crowned. She just sort of arrives from chaos at the dawn of time.
Yeah.
So for me, that's just like a fun picture to paint.
For sure, and, like, ultimate goddess energy.
So Nyx resides in Tartarus,
Mm,
the depths of the underworld,
yeah.
and from which every night she brings darkness across the sky. She is also the mother of some of the most fundamental aspects of our human experience.
Oh,
So again, from a primordial comes
yeah.
these other sort of fundamental
Pieces.
pieces of
Mhm.
our existence. So we get Thanatos, the god of death, Hypnos, the god of sleep,
Okay.
Eris is the god of strife, Nemesis, the god of retribution,
Okay.
and then of course we have the Fates,
Okay.
um, who I think it's so funny that of course she birthed Fate
Itself.
itself.
That's so
Yeah,
yeah, that I mean, that even encompasses who she is as
yeah,
a goddess herself, for sure.
definitely. And so for me, I can't think of the Fates without picturing our three friends
Oh,
from
they all share an
Hercules.
eyeball. Yeah,
Yeah.
we love that. Yeah, yeah.
uh, so that's always fun.
The, like, little old witchy people
Yeah.
or women, I guess. Yeah.
Ugh, with that gross eyeball.
Oh, with the hair on it. It's
And the
so
mhm.
bad.
Yep.
Uh,
Uh, so the main myth that we have of Nyx, where we learn
yeah.
sort of about who she is, comes from actually Homer's Iliad.
Okay.
So he tells a story about Hera, Zeus's
Mm,
wife, who is trying, she's always trying to off Zeus's son Hercules.
Pretty much, yeah,
and
he's
and
always
again,
a
we'll get
chase
into
after him.
more of these stories, but in her trying to get at Hercules, she asks Nyx's son Hypnos for his help to put Zeus to sleep.
Okay.
So Zeus, king of Mount Olympus,
King of
king of the Greek gods, this is a big feat.
yeah,
This is
for
a big
sure.
ask.
Mhm.
And so Hypnos agrees, does so. It doesn't last long because
Okay.
he's a big
Because
guy,
he's, like, a
right?
difficult person to
So
yeah.
he wakes up and he's of course enraged. Which
As Zeus
again,
always is.
one of his personality traits,
Yeah,
right?
for
Like
sure. He's always enraged about something.
and so enraged, he chases after Hypnos. Hypnos is like, shoot, runs to his mother.
Yeah.
Of course. They're like, Mom,
Mom, help.
help.
We don't know what that's like at all.
Yeah, no. And so he runs to his mom. Zeus chases after him. What we have at this point is Homer describes Zeus as standing in awe of her,
Okay.
which to me, so it can go one of two ways here, right? It's awe as in like respect,
Right.
and
Or
awe as in like kind of a little fear there
mhm. Yeah,
too.
fear.
So for me, she's such a sort of inevitable force
Yeah.
that I'm thinking that he sort of was able to stand there and take the vastness of her
Right.
in and was like, absolutely not.
Mhm.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Um, I decided,
Like, he
nope.
thinks he's dealing with Hypnos tricking him, and it's
Yeah.
really or not tricking him, but
Yeah.
doing something that he's not happy with, and now he's dealing with this force of inevitable
Inevitability. Yeah.
yeah,
Like she comes, I mean, as with night
it just
comes,
she's
whether you
whether you
are
have
ready for it or not.
mhm. Yeah, so he thinks he's dealing with one thing, and then he comes and is
Yeah.
like, "Wait, whoa, this is a lot."
Yeah. And so Homer has her described as sort of the subduer of gods and men.
Wow,
Um,
yeah.
and so as we get into more of these tales, we'll see really how big this is for
Yeah,
Zeus to back down from
mhm,
that fight
yeah.
or challenge or sort of anything. He just leaves.
Wow, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
for the king of the gods to step away, it definitely speaks volumes as to her power, and she doesn't even have to do anything. She just is
She just
there
is.
and
Yeah.
he's like, "Okay, backing off."
Yeah. I mean, there are no other accounts of Zeus
Of Zeus
backing
doing
down from
that.
a fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's
That
pretty
says
big.
something.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
for sure.
big. I'm just
For
saying.
sure. Yeah, definitely.
So Nyx, like the night itself, holds this sort of, it's a reverence for me.
Yeah,
It's could come from fear and also a little
it's
and
both
respect. Yeah.
almost, yeah,
So she holds this sort of reverence that comes with the unknown of night itself. So I think
right.
it's important to note that she not only brings night about, but she
Mhm.
sort of, even in depictions, right? She is night. What we also see of her is originally it's sort of these on vases. We
Okay.
see her,
Yeah,
and there's two different ways we see her. So one way we see her caped with
okay.
night, and she flies across the sky and
The night.
brings night with her.
Okay,
And then the other way we see her is led by these like, I don't know, they kind of look like bulls, like very dark
okay,
bull-like creatures, in a chariot
okay.
that leads night
Very
across the
Greek.
sky.
Yeah,
There's no like singular depiction of her,
okay,
but she is given sort of a human-like form
okay.
in these depictions. So that's interesting.
Yeah, how does she relate to, the sun since she's
The
night? Or
sun.
the sun not the
Oh,
sun, but day.
so actually, that's another. She gives birth to Day. Mara
Interesting.
is her
Okay.
daughter. It's interesting to think she never sees her daughter, right?
Oh,
Because if
sad.
her
Yeah.
daughter is out,
Yeah.
Day, her daughter
They're
goes
always
away,
missing each
and then
other.
yeah, it's like that day and night cycle,
And it's interesting too, because I think a lot of the time day is depicted as male
and
too.
also sort of like an antithesis
An
of
opposite.
night.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Or like
where
they're married or like they're like
they're
at odds with each other.
yes, they're
Either one.
usually at
Yeah.
odds, but this is interesting. She gives birth to Day. Day
Yeah.
comes of night,
Of night. Yeah.
not in resistance to each other
Or
or in,
opposition, like
yeah,
you were saying. Yeah.
mother daughter.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
that's an interesting, yeah,
I
that's
like
fun.
that. Yeah, it is
Hmm.
fun.
So I think one of the more fun ways that we see Nyx come up in, I guess, a more modern
I think
way
I know where you're going with this.
is Nyx also happens to be the sort of winged baby
Oh, from our favorite series, Akatar.
from our favorite series,
Yeah.
Akatar. Yeah. So,
I was wondering if you were gonna bring that up because I feel
yeah.
like that's such a it's like the first thing I thought of when you said, I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
we need
Nyx.
I'm sure it's
Yeah.
coming."
So, which is funny to me too, because he's also born in a lot of, there's a lot of
Of
chaos happening
chaos,
there.
yeah,
Like, just a
totally.
lot of things.
He's
Yeah.
just in in the worst possible situation.
Yeah. So I guess I'll backtrack here a
Yeah.
little for
Mhm.
maybe people who are not as aware is that Nyx is our child of Reese and Farah in A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Spoiler alert in case
Yeah.
anyone hasn't read it yet.
Oh no, can I say that? I feel like
Yes,
it's
it's
been
been
out a
out for long
while.
enough. I think we're
Yeah,
okay.
okay. What's interesting is that so he's born in the court of night. So Nyx is the child of Reese and Farah. So
Yeah,
our high lord and lady
yeah,
of the night court.
yeah. And so he comes from, like, just their union in itself is, like, this massive, like, powerful thing that we
Right.
don't know what he could possibly be he could be part of, or
Yeah, or
his
where how
power
he
comes from
fits, yeah, how he fits into
into
that.
the
Yeah,
story. They themselves are the stars eternal, night triumphant, like,
so good.
that is immense amounts of power that could be
Yeah,
possible, and that's just interesting in itself.
yeah.
And maybe we will find out if Sarah ever
If
releases the
we
next book,
ever
ever
get
get
ACOTAR 6.
another one. It will be super interesting because obviously he's still a child, so we'll see where that
Yeah,
takes
just
us.
sort of I think it's safe to assume that he will have
Crazy
a
power.
good amount of power.
Yeah.
I think it's just interesting. I'm interested to see where he goes with that power. Not
Yeah.
necessarily thinking that he'll be evil
Evil.
or anything, but just that, like, how he sort of comes into it, I
Right.
guess.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the only other place that I have seen Nyx used, and
Yeah.
this is a kind of a cool one, at least for me, is
Yeah.
that Nyx gets prayed to, oftentimes by sailors
Okay.
who want to bring about the night because they use sort of the night sky, the stars specifically,
Okay.
to help them navigate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That makes a lot of sense.
it to Nyx.
Navigating in the day is a lot more difficult.
Oh my gosh.
There's really nothing to go off of
Yeah.
unless you kind of know where you are.
And so it's just sort of has become like a tradition in that sense.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
super cool. I mean, it actually ties in really well to my pick because the Vikings also used the stars a lot to navigate, and they actually found I don't know if you know this, but they found a way to navigate using like a sunstone.
Oh my gosh.
So that's how they did it during the day. I don't know exactly how it works, but that
Yeah.
is like something that
Of
I found out.
course. Well, yeah, because why who wants to limit a Viking? Like, what?
Yeah. They were the master navigators, right?
Yeah.
Or early time navigators. So my choice was Skadi, who is from Norse mythology. She's the giantess goddess of skiing and winter.
Which is very appropriate.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she is obviously a giant, so she's part of this domain in Norse mythology that like is related to darkness and the cold and death. So like kind of like this dreary, is similar to Nyx in the sense of like she comes from this quote unquote dark existence.
Yeah.
Um and the giants have this terrible rap of being like devourers. Like they're very like aggressive and
Be
not
afraid
fun
of
to
a
be
giant.
around. Yeah. Yeah. Scotty fits this pattern because she is described as being like as fierce as a Valkyrie. So like a warrior type uh, person even
So
before
cool.
her goddess status. Tall, beautiful, formidable hunter and warrior, and a force to be reckoned with in her own right. And she becomes a goddess by marriage, so she's not born a goddess.
Giant turns goddess is pretty impressive.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So she lives in like the highest parts of the mountains where the snow never melts. And she's again, like I said before, like avid hunter, likes to snowshoe. She's the skier, so she's an outdoorsy gal.
This giant I
Like, you
just
can't get can you imagine, like, a
that's what I was
giant
just laughing at.
woman? Yeah.
How funny would that be?
Like,
See this giant fly down a mountain.
yeah, and, like, she's definitely seen as, like, again, this, like, strong force, but she's also like, "Hey, like, you're here
Yeah.
on the mountain with us." Like, she's part of, like, that community. It's
Yeah.
not meant like she's not a separate scary entity in that sense. And her name, Skadi, is thought to have, like, roots connected to the name of Scandinavia, so Skadi,
Oh,
Scandinavia,
yeah.
and, it doesn't say that it's for sure, but her tie to the land itself
It
in the
makes sense. I
in
could
the
see it.
nature of
Yeah.
her sounds like it seems like it would be cool
And
to
that's such a big part of their culture and their, like,
and you're
geography, and
right,
so it makes sense that there could be a tie
there could be a
there.
tie,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about kind of her story and how she becomes a goddess.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, so we start off with Scotty's dad dying, right? Which, for her is obviously sad, but he is murdered by the gods because he was abducting one of the gods.
Oh,
so,
well,
so Indun is the goddess of youth and the keeper of the apples of mortality. So Scotty's father is trying to steal these apples, and so they murder him. Fair enough,
well,
right? But Scotty is determined to avenge her father, and she decides that she is going to go to Asgard herself and ask for retribution for her father.
well.
Was right. So as a rule at the time that when a man dies, that the family is taken care of in some way or another. So she is perfectly within her rights within Norse culture to ask for that.
Okay.
Um, it's not just because he was murdered by the gods in particular. So it's kind of representative of the time too. So Skadi goes to Asgard to claim her prize essentially. She storms into Asgard and is like a ferocious one woman army. Like that's how she's
I
described.
love it.
And the gods are even like, "Whoa, let's take a step back. Let's see what she has to
Yes.
say," because this giantess is coming in and bossing us around basically. And Odin's like, "Okay, how do we get her off our back? Let's offer her
Yeah, what does she
money."
want? Yeah.
And she's like, "No, my dad left me with plenty of money. I don't really want that." And she suggests like, or she's like thinking, "How do I gain something out of this that isn't of that kind of value?" She wants to be a goddess. Yeah, so she suggests that she chooses a husband for herself instead of taking the money from the
Yeah,
gods.
because she doesn't need that.
Right, she doesn't need it. She's like, "I'd rather be a goddess," which fair enough.
Fitting.
um, so she gives the stipulation that she has to be made like they have to make her laugh. One of the gods, it doesn't matter who, it doesn't have to be the guy she ends up choosing, but
She wants a
she
laugh.
wants she wants to laugh. She's had a hard time,
Yeah.
right? And so they agree that they'll follow those conditions, but she has to choose her husband by his feet. Why?
Oh my gosh, that's a
Not
lot of
really
feet.
sure.
Yeah.
This is the weirdest episode of The Bachelorette I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
But
Could you imagine?
I
You
know,
had to
like
pick your husband based on his
super
feet?
weird. Which like I feel like I've seen this on YouTube somewhere. But anyway, like as like a
Men feet.
weird, well, like a weird dating show. Like you get to only see their feet and then their legs and then their body and
Oh
then
my
their
gosh,
face or
like a
something like
gradual
that.
thing.
Yeah. But anyway, so they're like, if you agree to that, then cool. And she's like, fine.
Alright.
So they all kind of take turns trying to make her laugh. And Loki, the trickster god, of course, decides to shoot his shot. And he is like, okay, what can I do to make this girl laugh? So he ties a goat to his beard,
Oh
right?
my
Sorry, he ties himself to a goat's beard. So
oh my
even funnier, right? And of course the goat's like, get the hell off of me, and starts
Right.
kicking him and whatever. And Loki's screaming, and then he somersaults into Scotty's lap because she's a giant, right?
Yeah.
And she just cracks up. She thinks it's like the funniest thing. After all these other people trying to make her laugh, she's like, the jokes aren't working, but that is hilarious.
Loki, of course.
Yeah. So all the gods line up and for her to choose, and a dense fog covers them only up to their feet. Or I guess their legs. So like
Yeah.
down to their knees is kind of like where I'm picturing it.
Yeah.
So she's hoping to choose Balder, who is considered the most handsome
handsome,
god.
yeah.
Yeah, he's the god of light and beauty and joy. So he's like the male Aphrodite-ish, like if you want to like
Yeah.
make a comparison.
Yeah.
And she like thinks to herself, he's got to have like strong godly legs. So that's why, that's the person who I'm going to pick. Right. And she's thinking, I'm a skier. I want somebody who can keep up with
Athletic.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Someone
makes
athletic.
sense.
Right. Someone to match her. So she chooses her feet, if you will. And she ends up
Oh, man.
choosing, drumroll, Njord, who is the god of the sea.
Yeah. A
Um,
swimmer would have strong
Right,
legs.
would have
Yeah.
strong feet, right? So athlete too, but just the wrong kind.
Different.
And Balder actually is happy about it because he already has a wife. So he's kind of like, no, I'm good. Like I'm
Yeah.
happy with her. I love her. I don't need another wife. So Scotty's, and Njord are kind of an odd match off the bat because they kind of are opposite.
Right.
Like Njord is the sea god and she's the god of the
All the way up
mountains.
in the
So
mountains.
complete
Yeah.
opposite ends of like territory, if you will.
Oh, man.
Um, so they decide to kind of take turns living in each other's
Worlds.
worlds,
Yeah.
right? Scotty goes to live with Njord at the sea, and she describes it as, I quote, "It makes me sad to sit and stare at the wide open sea and singing swans and shrieking gulls pierce my ears and keep me awake all night." So
Oh,
she's like
miserable.
miserable,
She's like, I'm
hates
not
it.
sleeping. It's loud here.
Yeah, she's like, it's too vast. It's creeping me out.
Yeah.
It's just
That would
not.
be hard. Yeah. It's
It's not.
different.
It's so opposite from what
Yeah.
she's used to. And so she gives it like 9 months of a good try.
That's a solid
Yeah,
try.
she
She was
really.
that miserable for 9 months.
Yeah, well, I mean, like her and Njord get along, but they're
Yeah.
just from different worlds, so that it's just very
Oh,
hard for her
man.
to adjust. And she's like, "Okay, why don't you come try living like in my world and see how you think, what you think?" And so Njord goes up to live with Scotty in the mountains. And Njord says, I quote, "The towering mountains shut me in, and the howl of the wolves keep me awake at night. I long for the sea and the song of the swans." So he's like, again, like almost saying the complete opposite of
Yeah.
her, of like, that's what I want. I want, to see the ocean again. So he also lasted about 9 months and decided to go home. And essentially, they just part ways. They
They're
quote unquote get a God
separated.
divorce. Yeah, like they get a God's divorce. It's amicable. They see each other at the
Like
God
occasionally.
parties, if you
Yeah.
will, and they're perfectly fine. Like they're not mad at each other. They just accept that their fate didn't match up the way that it should have. Scotty does become the goddess that she anticipated, but she doesn't end up with her god in the end. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting
Hmm.
parallel. And that's kind of why I wanted to tell her story, is that there are so many times where you're trying to make a relationship work that just isn't going to work.
It's not the one.
It's
Yeah.
just
You're like,
it's just
well,
not going to happen. And I think that this is a great example of why the gods are just like us, if you will. So
yeah.
it was the perfect analogy for that for me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And she does end up finding a match that's better for her in Thor's stepson Ul. I don't know how to say his
All
name. It's
pronunciations are
very
fun.
difficult.
Yeah.
Who ends up being the god of skiing.
Oh, well,
So
that's,
it fits her perfectly.
yeah.
They're like a perfect match. And yeah, so Scotty is even still worshipped now, which I think is
That's very cool.
fascinating. And she's obviously a winter related goddess. So around the time of Yule or Christmas, the stillness and barrenness of winter leading to a prosperous spring is what is kind of like
Would be
the
important.
tie.
Yeah.
And especially in a Nordic country where the winter is so long and arduous and isolating, she's somebody who kind of like emulates this wild spirit and independence and justice that winter represents to them.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, it's such a long period of time in their
And such a
lives,
big part of their culture.
right?
Generally,
That
like,
they're
yeah.
yeah they look up to her as like, we can make it through this too,
Yeah. And that she's there with them.
right?
Yeah.
So when people make offerings to her, they will use a clear or a blue bowl. So, like again, wintry colors.
Yeah.
And they'll use a white candle and draw her bind rune into it. So, for people who don't know what a bind rune is, it's a collection of runes, which
Mhm.
are the
Like
Norse alphabet, and they make up a collection of symbols that represent either a goddess or an idea or
what they're
something,
trying to
what
draw.
they're trying to convey out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they can represent like a sound or a concept too. So it's not just like it's alphabet, but it's also big picture concepts too.
Yeah.
Um So some interpretations connect specific runes to her. Like Esau is ice, stillness, and so representing winter.
Another piece of winter, yeah.
Right. And then Iwaza, which is yew or transformation. So like the yew tree, like it's a type of tree.
And so that
Again,
transformation between winter
right, winter
into
to spring. Yeah. And also gosh, sorry everyone. Al-Yiz, which is also the symbol for an elk or protection. So her being a huntress.
In the
So
woods. Yeah.
right. So a lot of them like are just connected to her in like sometimes maybe a more vague way, but they relate to her either with her representation of the winter itself or her as a huntress. And a lot of the times it's like with snow or salt or juniper, pine, like anything that you think of that's related to winter. Cypress, any kind of wild animals like wolves or foxes or things like that.
That you would find in the woods up
Right.
there. Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. So yeah, I think what I noticed, at least as we were just talking about it, is that they are such quiet. We have quiet power here. They're they are not trying to be loud and boastful with their power.
No.
And we didn't pick these
They're just
knowing
existing. Yeah.
each other.
Actually,
So
we didn't tell each other.
we purposely didn't. So we kind of had a little bit of a live reaction.
Right.
So I think the common thread between ours is this quiet power that they both put out. Like they're not these loud, boisterous goddesses in the way that you might see in other situations, like a Zeus, for example.
Oh my goodness. Right.
And yeah, like Nyx, for example, might like she's primordial, so she's not even starting out as this, goddess in the same way. She's beyond that.
She's inevitable. She is that inevitable force that is going to come whether you're ready for her night or not.
And like Skadi had that mindset even without even being a goddess. Like she stormed the gates of Asgard without even being a goddess herself.
They're not trying to be likable. They're not trying to be
anything. Their ambition is unapologetic. So I think it, without even trying, we connected them together because we didn't purposely pick them because they're related. We just decided we chose ones for ourselves
that
and
we liked.
They happened to match up. So I think that's it's interesting because it shows how our brains work, because that's part of the reason we started doing this was that we felt like, oh, I can, our brains are working in the same realm. So
absolutely.
It ended up working out. But yeah, I think that's kind of it that, that we have for these two. But we'll move on to our next episode for next week.
Yeah. We'll see you back next week.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys think. Please leave a comment or review, anything.
Any info, any feedback.
Any feedback is appreciated. So
definitely.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Bye. Next week on Goddess Behavior.
Zeus versus Odin.
Two ruling gods, two wildly different leadership styles, impulsive dominance or strategic knowledge.
Who ruled better? Who messed up more? And who would you actually want in charge?
Join us as we put Olympus and Asgard head to head and ask, who do you think deserves the title of King of the Gods?
If you enjoyed this episode, please follow Goddess Behavior and leave a review. It helps other legendary mortals find us.
Questions are always welcome. No oracle required.
Stay bold.
Stay curious.
That's Goddess Behavior.